And we're back. Thank you so much for joining us once again on our second webinar of the day with José David Torres. His webinar is titled VR as an Education and Social Transformation Tool. So a little bit about José David. José David Torres Quiñones is a lawyer with consistent participation in the startup environment of Puerto Rico. At law school, he was elected as the student council president during the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, he was awarded a fellowship by the American Bar Association in order to participate in an internship at the PR Department of Justice. His legal experience allows him to stand out as a social entrepreneur. In 2020, he co-founded Social Key due to his interests in emerging technologies and commitment to eradicate poverty and inequality. Thank you so much for being with us today, José David. Whenever you're ready, the stage is all yours.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It is a pleasure for me and Social Key to be part of this amazing event organized by Ars Electronica. I would also like to thank the Puerto Rico Science and Technology Trust for this wonderful invitation. Particularly, I would also like to thank Dr. Johnny Lugo. Now, I will be presenting you all a presentation that we have prepared for this interesting topic and webinar. The title is VR as an Educational and Social Transformation Tool. My name is, as you already know, José David Torres. I am the Executive Director of Social Key. And this is an overview of what we will be discussing today, considering the progressive growth of VR and how COVID-19 has driven a record number of workers remotely. Companies like Spatial, which creates something like a virtual reality version of Zoom, has seen a 1,000 increase in usage since March. Without doubt, VR is growing not only in the labor and educational areas, but in many, many more areas. Therefore, we consider it important that we know that we know what VR is, and especially the impact it can have on social and educational areas. But before we dive in, a brief introduction about what is Social Key. Social Key is a forward-looking and tech-based nonprofit. We use VR as an essential tool for our services. Social Key was co-founded by a multidisciplinary professionals. Right now on the team, there's a clinical social worker, for example. Myself, I am a lawyer. And we are very, very proud of the very diverse team that we have here in Social Key. We are currently located in Puerto Rico, and we deliver our services by visiting the disadvantaged communities. Now, what is VR? Well, first of all, VR stands for virtual reality. And it is a computer-generated environment that simulates reality through the use of interactive devices. Now, this simulation of reality can be fictional, can be realistic. You can, anything that you imagine, it can happen in the virtual world, okay? And what are the interactive devices? Well, they can be cell phones, they can be headsets, and we're going to talk about headsets a little bit more in detail now. But before, a brief background on how virtual reality began. Here are some examples of the Sensorama, which was on the 1950s, and Philco in the 1960s, And NASA also experimented on the virtual reality around the 1980s and 1987 specifically. All of these headsets were not for commercial use, and they were experimental. Fast forward to 2012, we have Oculus, a principal headset that was developed by a very young person, and the company was later sold to Facebook. But this Oculus was first thought and developed with gaming intentions. Nowadays, Oculus has other applications and other uses, which we are going to mention later. But now we have these main headsets, Oculus Quest 2 and HTC Vive Cosmos. The market is growing. There are coming more devices, and there are more, but these are one of the main ones. Differences between AR and VR. Well, first of all, VR is a full immersion in virtual environment, okay? Everything that you see in the virtual environment is artificial and it is digital. Contrary to the augmented reality. The augmented reality uses virtual objects overlaid on real world, okay? You do not have to use necessarily a mounted headset device. You can use phones, for example, Snapchat filters and Instagram filters or other company filters use augmented reality. And this is an example of the aging and enhancement. These are some examples of VR. As you can see, you can even play music in virtual reality world with friends and families. You decide. Here is another example. As you can see, this is a medical intervention. However, this is not a real intervention. Nobody is is there actually. This is completely artificial. Augmented reality. Here, there is on your right a very popular game called Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was a pioneer on augmented reality. Why? Because you could use your phone in order to catch Pokemons in the real world, okay? On your street, on your home, on your backyard. And this is what augmented reality is. On your left, you can see a person using their table or her table and enhancing the environment in order to have an activity. This could be a social activity. This could be a gaming experience. You decide. Current VR uses. These are some of the most trending VR uses, and it is simulation. Okay, on your right, you see a simulation of policemen and training. On your left, you're going to see a simulation of spacewalking. And these are some trends in the simulation and some of the uses that virtual reality has. But what about the future? What about the future of virtual reality? Well, Facebook, which is a company that, as I mentioned before, bought Oculus. And Oculus is one of the main or the main company right now selling virtual reality headsets. Has described the metaverse, has described Facebook as a company that should be known as a metaverse company. And that was mentioned by its CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. And what is the metaverse? Well, a metaverse could allow people tired of photo filters and video editing tools to digitally embody whole new personas and show their creativity or financial status through avatars. It might also drive young people to spend even more time online. This is a description of Dalvin Brown for the Washington Post on the metaverse. But in short terms, the metaverse is a new space where the virtual and augmented reality will collide, and it will be an online space for everyone. Obviously, companies are very excited because this is a new space, and it is going to continue growing. It is not yet ready. It does not exist per se, a metaverse right now, but in the future, it will definitely exist, and we are very close of that. According to company executives, as of February, 10,000 of Walmart's 1.2 million employees have taken skills management assessments using virtual reality. Other companies use it as well, and this is very promising. In some scenarios, it might even be more safe to practice through VR. For example, extinguishing a fire, it is more safe than other types of training. And projected spending on VR, AR training is 2.2 billion. But what about our communities? In 2020, 6 out of 10 households with children living in poverty in Puerto Rico do not have access to computers and the internet. This is a growing concern because the lack of access to technology produces inequality instantly. Technology is growing at a very high pace. Unfortunately, our communities are staying behind, losing economic and labor opportunities. Innovation rarely reaches those communities that need it most. Why is this happening? Well, first of all, there's lack of access to hardware in schools. This means that teachers are often limited to using the devices within specific blocks of time, or worse, not even using them at all. I remember when I was in high school and intermediate school, and the school only had, one of my schools had only one TV or a few TVs. And teachers actually wanted to provide us with documentaries in school, but there was always the problem of lacking the hardware. Well, this is also happening with the emergent technologies. Infrastructure issues. And this is including a reliable and consistent high-speed internet access. In order to access these VR experiences, we all need the internet to download the games, to buy the games, to download the softwares, to create more games, to create more experiences, to create educational platforms, to download educational experiences. We need high-speed internet access, and more important, a reliable and consistent one. All of these experiences also need to be bought. So if you have a lucky kid that has this virtual reality headset, well, additionally, they have to buy and purchase these experiences. And most likely what they are going to choose are the most fun ones. We want kids to not have to decide between buying something fun and something educational. We want them to have both educational and fun experiences. And that's what we in Social Key are doing, and we're going to mention more about that. But this is very important. Our communities need consistent and reliable high-speed internet access. They need access to the hardware, and they also need access to the network and licensing to actually have an effective tool in their hands. The STEM problem is in computer science, okay? 67% of all new jobs in STEM are in computing. Of STEM, 11% of STEM bachelor's degrees are in computer science. And how can we make or motivate people to enter the computer science sphere or area? Well, making computer accessible. And these virtual reality headsets, as we've already mentioned, are computers. And if we make it accessible and more enjoyable to the younger generations, then we can encourage more people to study and enter the computer science area. 90% of parents want their child to study computer science, and while 47% of high schools actually teach computer science. Both of these graphics are based in the United States. And why do we believe that VR can be an education and social transformation tool? Well, yeah, it is possible. There are studies that establish this. For example, a recent study mentioned that students have 30% better retention with virtual reality as opposed to traditional methods of education. Why does this happen? Well, students are learning through a three-dimensional experience rather than just a two-dimensional experience. There's also auditive experience learning. And these types of workshops using virtual reality develops digital literacy. It's an active experience rather than just passive information, boosts students' creativity, and creates interest in STEM. So if we provide an access to these emergent technologies, such as virtual reality with workshops, all of these benefits will happen. These are some examples of educational and artistic value. On the left, you have Anne Frank's home, where you can see how she lived during the Nazi regime. And on your right, you can see a kid learning and exploring a piece of art. These are some current examples of companies that are working in these areas where they are actually offering services with the virtual world. Virtual Science Center offers guests an interactive experience into the magical world of virtual reality in an educational way. And VR Kids provides custom developed therapeutic virtual reality experiences to mobility impaired and hospital bound children, teens, and young adults. And also Social Key is doing that as well. Social Key is on a mission to maximize social integration through access to virtual reality technology, applying it to education and the general development of communities. Social change is possible. We're going to look at some examples of our workshops that we have done in Puerto Rico. And our participants have told us that this should be included in school for math classes. The workshops that we have provided have had the following objectives. First, what is VR and what does it mean? How to responsibly use the device and how to responsibly interact on the virtual world. We do this through demonstrations and dynamic interactions. Participants are able to learn to use the equipment and discover potential uses of this technology within different disciplines. The demographics of the last workshop that we did was the following. Most of the scholar system came from public schools. And this is the demographics. The test results. Well, we first asked them how much do they know about virtual reality. And before we began the test, we made that question before we made the workshop. And the majority mentioned that they knew very little or just little, okay? While after the activity, most of them mentioned that they knew enough, or some of them felt a little bit more comfortable and mentioned that they knew a lot. Do you think it is possible to draw a landscape using virtual reality? We also asked them this question. In the pre-test, 42.9% of the participants did not believe the aforementioned was possible. Then, when supplying the post-test, 100% of them indicated that it was possible to draw using virtual reality. And this is where the art and the technology world collides. And this was amazing for us. I would like to end this presentation by thanking the Social Key team and the volunteers that have made this possible. There's been teams and volunteers that have participated in all of this for so much, and we are grateful here in Social Key. I would also like to thank the Puerto Rico Science and Technology and Research Trust for this opportunity. I would also like to thank Luz Crespo, the Executive Director of the Puerto Rico Science and Technology Trust, the Cultural Heritage Innovation Program, Dr. Johnny Lugo from CHIP, he's the director, and Shirley McPaul. She is a technology specialist in CHIP for helping and guiding us through this process. Thank you all. I hope you've had a wonderful time, and I will be also available for any questions regarding this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation, José David. If anyone out there has any questions, please do contact José David directly. We will not have a Q&A session today, so please do contact him at his own socials. Otherwise, you can always message us directly. Well, actually, you can message my boss, Dr. Johnny Lugo. If you have any questions, you can use his email right here and send him any questions you may have, and we will make sure to send them José David's way. Thank you so much for joining us for this second webinar. Up next, we have Jorge Valentine and the future of education. Please stay tuned. So we'll see you back here at the hour. See you soon.